The Harvest Man. The deeper the desperation, the darker the deal, and the debt is tallied in silence until the harvest comes. They say you should never step into a cornfield under a harvest moon. It's an old Midwestern superstition, passed down in quiet towns where the fields go on forever, and the wind whistles ancient tunes best left forgotten. Most folks forget the warning, chalk it up to farmers and their ghost stories. But everyone's heard of the Harvest Man. The tale goes back to the Dust Bowl, when crops died and people starved. A man named Eli Booker nailed his scarecrow to a post and whispered a prayer to keep the crows away. But Eli didn't pray to God. He prayed to something as old as the soil in which he knelt, something buried deep beneath his land. He said, "Take what you want, just leave my harvest," and it did. From that day on, no birds touched Eli's crops. But sometimes, on nights when the moon turned blood orange, people went missing. Children, drifters, anyone foolish enough to cross the fields after dark. They said the scarecrow walked on those nights, that it wasn't straw in its belly, but roots and bones. And if the moon hung full and orange in the sky, and the corn was high, you could hear the rustling of the corn as it moved between the rows. Johnny didn't believe in any of that. 21 years old, cocky, walking back from a barn party with nothing but the moon and bad decisions lighting his path. The road back home curved wide around Halderman's field. But the cornfield, that was a straight shot. 10 minutes through it, and he'd be back before his old man noticed he was gone. So he climbed the fence and headed into the swaying corn. The harvest moon was rising like a jack-o'-lantern over the horizon when he slipped between the rows and vanished, as if the corn had swallowed him whole. Tall stalks above his head, dry leaves whispering like gossip. 10 steps in, the air turned cold. He thought it was just the beer, but then the field went silent. No wind, no bugs, just silence. And then he heard it. Rustling. Something was pushing through the corn. Slow, steady, and coming closer. Johnny stopped and called out, "Who's there?" No answer. Just that steady rustle, growing louder, creeping in. Then, between the stalks, he saw it. Not a man. Not really. Something in the shape of one, tall and stretched, limbs too long, body draped in old clothes and stuffed with straw. Its head was a grotesque fusion of rotting pumpkin and bone, as if a human skull had grown inside the collapsing rind. 2 jagged eye sockets were carved into the flesh, glowing faintly from within like embers buried in rot. A massive, rusted scythe, longer than a man is tall, dragged behind it through the dirt. Johnny ran. He cut right, then left, twisting through rows, trying to find a break in the field. The moon above followed him, painting the corn in copper and blood. Behind him, the corn exploded with sound as something tore through the rows, cracking stalks, pounding steps. Then came the new sound, slicing, rhythmic, dry, sharp, a scythe at work. Then silence. Johnny stopped, panting, heart slamming in his throat. A voice whispered from the rows, dry and rasping, like wind through dead stalks. "Take what you want. Just leave the harvest." He turned. The scarecrow was there. No footsteps, no breath, just standing, still, silent, and tall as the corn itself. In the hollows where its eyes should have been, a cold, furious light burned bright as it raised the blade. Its eyes burned with judgment, and Johnny saw his damnation there, just before the blade fell. Johnny was never seen again. When he didn't come home, his parents called the police, and a search was launched. They found a few footprints, a trail of trampled stalks, nothing more. The sheriff said he must have run off, left town, maybe drugs, maybe a girl. But the old farmers just shook their heads. And sometime later, a new scarecrow appeared in the field. It wore a black motorcycle jacket, and no one remembered putting it there.